For a week, we've been telling you the truth about David Suzuki, as opposed to the carefully crafted myth propagated by his lobby firm and the CBC. Suzuki says he's better than the rest of us because he's not about power or money.
At my age, no one can accuse me of wanting more fame or power or money.
Yeah, but then he bills John Abbott College in Montreal $41,000 in fees and expenses to give a speech there. No wonder the guy's a multimillionaire. Now, I respect capitalism. The thing is, Suzuki doesn't. He trashes it publicly. But then in private, he backs up the Brinks truck, often to the taxpayer's trough. He also says he's not about girls anymore either.
As I get older, my testosterone levels drop, and you know, I'm getting smarter because I'm not thinking about sex all the time.
Right, but then his assistant calls up John Abbott College and asks for an all-female group of escorts to accompany him around campus. These are teenage girls, by the way. It's just a junior college. That's just creepy. What's creepier is that college staff actually comply, recruiting girls, telling them how to dress, and visually inspecting them before sending them to Suzuki. And the academic dean himself, Eric Schmidt, tells the girls to go visit Suzuki at night in his penthouse for a special thank you. Super gross. Fine. Suzuki can't stop talking about sex. His autobiography talks about sex constantly, not just about him having sex, but his wife too, his parents, and even his daughters. Quote, "Sex has been a driving force in my life," unquote, he wrote. Yeah, we get that. You like sex. I mean, that's pretty much a universal instinct, but the rest of us don't demand that a college recruit teenage girls as our personal escorts. Now, we've asked a half dozen people from the David Suzuki Foundation and John Abbott College to explain why Suzuki requested an all-girls escort and why the college went to work procuring that for him. They refuse to talk to us. They say it's all a big misunderstanding. Yeah, not really. The college's internal emails, which I've shown you last week, couldn't be clearer. This is a story about sexism. It's a story about how the normal rules don't apply to people that the media party deems to be too important to follow, the norms that apply to the rest of us. But with David Suzuki, politics and PR and ideology aren't the whole story. With him, you've got to follow the money. Here's what I mean. Some people think that when David Suzuki gives a speech for 41 grand, that the money goes to his charitable foundation. But it doesn't. It goes to his private company called New Data Enterprises Limited. It's a company that Suzuki set up back in the 1970s. He runs it with his wife, Tara. Here's a copy of the company's corporate filings. And here's a copy of the invoice from New Data to John Abbott College for $30,000 plus HST for the speech he gave. His other expenses are not listed here. But when we broke this girl escort scandal this week, it wasn't David Suzuki or his wife Tara or anyone at New Data who responded. The person who put out the comment defending Suzuki was named Ian Hannington, who works for the David Suzuki Foundation, a registered charity. Now hang on, why is a registered charity using its charitable resources to do political spin for David Suzuki's private business scandal at John Abbott College? Why is that charitable work? Well, that's the thing about David Suzuki's life. He considers himself to be a charitable work, and thus you, as the taxpayer, have to subsidize it. Here's proof. Look at this page from the David Suzuki Foundation's financial statements. This is from the registered charity, and I quote, "New Data, a corporation controlled by 2 board members of the foundation, charges for the use of New Data's administrative staff resources for scheduling, liaison, and other administrative support services. During the year, the foundation paid $58,242 to New Data for these services," unquote. So in other words, 58 grand of charity money goes from the David Suzuki Foundation charity straight to David Suzuki's personal corporation, New Data, to pay for some sort of staff services. That's a neat trick. I mean, New Data isn't a charity. It's a money-making machine. David Suzuki himself isn't a charity. He's a tycoon. But Suzuki needs help from a charity to pay for his corporate staff services. But Suzuki won't even pay for his own private corporation's office help. He'll make you help pay for it through our charity laws, except it is not charity work. You help pay for Suzuki's office help, his scheduler, his liaison, his administrative support. Of course you did. Just like you paid for his career at the CBC and at the National Film Board, and Quebec taxpayers pay for John Abbott College. But is David Suzuki's office really worthy of receiving funds from his charitable foundation? Can the rest of us get charitable status for our business assistants, our secretaries, our schedulers? Or is it only holy saints like Suzuki who magically transform their money-making companies like New Data into charitable projects? We know a bit about one of Suzuki's assistants because she's actually the star in this whole story about the teenage girls at John Abbott College. It was Suzuki's assistant who called up Mary Milburn, the assistant to the dean there, to ask for certain favors. Let me remind you, here's Milburn's email about that call, and I quote, "We have learned via Dr. Suzuki's assistant that although the doctor does not like to have bodyguards per se, he does not mind having a couple of ladies, females, that would act as bodyguards." David Suzuki's errand girl, the one who makes the delicate phone calls requesting the all-girl entourages, works for Suzuki's private company, New Data. But you paid New Data 58 grand for office help. You paid for it because 58 grand for New Data office administration flowed through the David Suzuki Foundation, a charity. You can't do that. If you tried that, you'd be audited and have to pay back the tax man because you can't pass off your office help as a charitable expense. But you're not one of the special people. You're not a holy saint like David Suzuki. If normal rules about how to treat women don't apply to Suzuki, why should something as trivial as a tax law apply to him too?